Chapter 110, Time for Action. The outcome of the battle had went against many of the onlookers' expectations. As they gazed at the sorry figure of Song Qing as it slid down the wall, the two old managers of the Thousand Gold Association were first shocked before their facial expressions quickly turned a little ugly. Moments before, they were speaking about how adequately competent Song Qing was. Never did they imagine that the duel would end this way. Hehe, my choice is not bad, right, you two? Xian Su smiled. Right now, she had concealed the shock in her heart. Meanwhile, her beautiful eyes peculiarly glanced at Lin Dong. The latter's mental energy seemed to be more powerful than an ordinary first seal symbol master. If not, he would not be able to easily dispose of the heavenly Yuan middle stage Song Qing. The two old managers released a hollow laugh and could not help but nod their heads in agreement. These two old men admire Manager Su's excellent judgment. When she saw that these two elderly men had stopped interfering, Xia's Hylan gently heaved a sigh of relief. Promptly, her gaze quickly swept across the sorry figure of Song Qing as the expression on her beautiful face suddenly changed and she hurriedly shouted out, "Song Qing, what are you doing?" Bang! Before Xia's Hylan's shouted could fade away, Song Qing, who now had a hideous expression on his face, once again dashed forward. A sharp dagger appeared in his hand as he viciously stabbed at Lin Dong. When he saw that this fellow still refused to give up, Lin Dong's eyebrows furrowed. Just as he planned to make a move, a figure suddenly appeared before his eyes. Promptly, a mature and lovely figure appeared in front of him. With a wave of her jade-like hands, a Yuan power shockwave, akin to a hurricane, emerged and directly flipped Song Qing away. Such might! As he gazed at Xian Su, who had appeared in front of him, Lin Dong's heart was slightly moved as he stared at the former's alluring figure with a peculiar gaze. He never expected that the lovely Manager Su was actually this powerful. Based on her previous move, it seems like she would not lose out to Wei Tong from the Blood Cloth sect. The Thousand Gold Association is indeed remarkable. A glint flashed in Lin Dong's eyes. For the first time, he finally acknowledged this faction, which was one of the top 3 powers in Yan City. Song Qing, this place belongs to my Thousand Gold Association, not your Song family. Right now, Lin Dong is a guest of our Thousand Gold Association. I hope that you can show some respect. Xian Su's eyebrows knitted together as she stared at Song Qing. A slight chilliness was mixed into her usually delightful and gentle voice. Evidently, Song Qing's actions had enraged her a little. Leave now. I will tell your father about today's matter. When he heard Xian Su's words, Song Qing's face turned green and pale. However, he did not have the guts to stand up against Manager Su. Instantly, he hatefully looked at Lin Dong before he departed. Elders, it is getting late. It should be time for us to leave. After she chased away Song Qing, Xian Su's tone was still slightly ugly as she turned and spoke to the two elders with an indifferent manner. Upon hearing these words, the two elders had no choice but to reluctantly nod their heads as they stood up and left. Snort, these two old fellows must have accepted quite a few benefits from the Song family. That's why they kept insisting on him. As she stared at the elders' departing shadows, Xia's Hylan softly snorted. The Song family are opportunists. On the surface, they appear close to our Thousand Gold Association. However, they also have quite a few secret dealings with the Blood Wolf sect and the city governor. Therefore, how can we let that Song Qing take advantage of us so easily this time? After finishing, Xian Su's beautiful eyes turned towards Lin Dong, who was standing to one side. With a smile that seemed to hold a deeper meaning, she said, "Little one, it seems like you have hidden much of your talents. Manager Su is generous. My skills are inferior compared to yours." Lin Dong let out a hollow laugh as he replied. "All right, let's stop with the flattery. It's time to leave." Xian Su rolled her eyes at him. Without further ado, she waved her jade-like hands and led them towards the out of the Thousand Gold Association. At least you have some ability. If you cannot even defeat Song Qing, then even if you participate the competition, you will be nothing but an eyesore. Xia's Hylan walked up to Lin Dong as she uttered in an indifferent tone. Lin Dong spread out his hands and declined to comment. Don't worry, we will do our best to attain 2 consecutive victories. That way, there will be no need for you to do anything. In that case, I won't get to enjoy the celestial Dan pool too, right? Lin Dong smiled as he said. Upon hearing these words, an enrapturing smile emerged on Xia's Highland's beautiful face. Good answer. After finishing, she did not linger any further as she suavely turned around and swiftly followed behind Xiansu. Let's hope so, Lin Dong smiled as he followed them. When Lin Dong walked out, there were already several dozen fine horses awaiting them outside the 1,000 Gold Association. As he scanned his surroundings, he saw that in the middle of a crowd, was a rather handsome young man smiling and conversing with Xia's Highland. This is the person replacing Song Qing. His name is Lin Dong and is somewhat skilled. He just managed to defeat Song Qing. As Lin Dong walked forward, Xia's Highland began to introduce him. Oh! Hee, it's no wonder I just saw Song Qing stomp out wearing a hideous expression. It turns out he had been beaten by brother Lin Dong. Upon hearing these words, the handsome young man was slightly taken aback. Promptly, he cupped his hands and smiled at Lin Dong. Compared to Song Qing, this young man seemed several times better. The other party's politeness gave Lin Dong a favorable impression as he cupped his fists and returned the greeting. Besides the 2 of us, he is the final member representing the 1,000 Gold Association for today's Celestial Pool battle, Lu Yi. However, he is a more dependable person. Just like me, he is at Heavenly Yuan late stage. Beside them, Xia's Highland interjected. Hee, brother Lin Dong, please don't listen to her nonsense. After hearing Xia's Highland's words, Lu Yi hurriedly smiled as he said. Lin Dong chuckled. He was already used to this woman's vicious tongue and could not be bothered to lower himself to her level. Alright, let's not waste time talking, it's time to leave. To one side, Xiansu leaped onto a fine horse. With a light shout, she led the group as they traveled towards the outskirts of Yan City. Brother Lin Dong, let's go. Our destination is deep in the mountains to the east of Yan City. The journey will take approximately 1.5 hours. Lu Yi informed Lin Dong, before the former promptly leapt onto a horse and swiftly caught up to the main convoy. Behind him, Lin Dong likewise quickly mounted his horse and followed them. The place that Lin Dong and the rest were traveling to, was a spot deep in the mountain located at the east side of Yan City. As the rights issue over the Celestial Dan Pool was still unresolved, the 1,000 Gold Association and the Blood Wolf Gang had sent several men to stand guard there. Both factions were vigilantly monitoring each other, neither party daring to relax. As such, the location of the Celestial Pool battle was set nearby the Celestial Dan Pool. Therefore, once the victor was decided, they would be able to claim it immediately. As they traveled rapidly for about an hour, the group in front began to gradually slow down. Lin Dong lifted his eyes as he stared at that thick mountainous forest before him. Faintly, he could hear the roars of some beasts. This place was the lair of demonic beasts. Therefore, only factions like the Blood Wolf Gang and the 1,000 merchant associations dared to station themselves in this kind of place. Let's go. Everyone be careful as we head up the mountain. Even though we have already chased away most of the demonic beasts here, there were still quite a number that slipped through the cracks. Xiansu leapt off the horse. Without further ado, she straightaway dashed towards the deep mountains. Behind her, a large body of troops swiftly followed as the sounds of breaking through the wind continuously rang out in the forest. Lin Dong was situated approximately in the middle of the convoy. As he vigilantly observed his surroundings, he could sense that there were indeed several demonic beasts in this mountain. Though this crew was powerful, it would still be troublesome if they were attacked. Thus it was best to remain cautious. Thankfully, Lin Dong's fears did not become a reality. Around 10 minutes later, the dense forest began to open up. Soon after, Lin Dong began to feel his vision widen. It seems like they had successfully reached the mountain peak. Just as Lin Dong and the rest appeared at the mountain peak, the sounds of bows being drawn was heard from all around them. Before Lin Dong could hastily retreat, a shout immediately rang out from the front. As Lin Dong lifted his head and looked at the top of the mountain, he realized that on the top of the mountain were two groups, both already in a state of high alert. Situated at the edge of the mountain, was a towering rock formation that soared towards the heavens. Below it was a tiny crystal-clear pool slightly over 3 meters long. The water in the pool seemed extraordinarily magical as one half of it continuously boiled and bubbled, while a bone-chilling mist hovered above the other half. These two parts were obviously of contrasting elements, yet they were able to coexist inside this tiny pool. I guess this must be the so-called Celestial Dan pool. Lin Dong's eyes swept across the tiny pool as he softly muttered to himself. Manager Su, you've really taken your time. Just as Lin Dong's gaze was attracted by the Celestial Dan pool, an icy voice suddenly echoed out. He turned to look, only to see that in front of that huge group was a tall and well-built middle-aged man with a giant blood wolf tattoo on his body who was staring straight at them. No particularly strong Yuan power undulated on that man's body. However, as he stood there, he felt like a giant mountain. No one would dare to underestimate him. Lin Dong's eyes met briefly with the giant man before he immediately retracted his gaze. From the latter's body, he could feel an immense pressure. This immense pressure was something he had not felt even from Wei Tong. That man is the head of the Blood Wolf gang. People call him Mountain Hand Yu Shan. He is a perfect Yuan Dan stage elite. In this entire Yan City, there is hardly anyone who can match up against him, also known as the Tyrant of Yan City. Beside Lin Dong, Lu Yi softly said. Lin Dong gently nodded his head. Perfect Yuan Dan stage. Upon reaching this stage, one was merely one step away from reaching that so-called 3 stages of seize, create, and transform. If Yu Shan could reach that stage, notwithstanding Yan City, even in the entire Tiandu province, he would be considered as a legendary figure. He, Gang Chief Yu, why so impatient? Just as Yu Shan spoke, on the Thousand Gold Association's side, a man dressed in silk robes, who seemed like a merchant, also gently smiled. He was the only one who was not affected by the former's formidable aura. This man. I am guessing he must be the leader of the Thousand Gold Association, Xia Wanjin. This time, even without Lu Yi's aid, Lin Dong was able to deduce the man's identity. In Yan City, the only people who dared to speak with Yu Shan in such a manner was probably the Thousand Gold Association's leader, Xia Wanjin, and Yan City Governor, Shi Haoshan. 2 perfect Yuan Dan stage practitioners. As he gazed at the two imposing figures, a small fire was lit up inside Lin Dong's heart. After all, he could have never hoped to meet such powerful practitioners in Qingyang town. Yu Shan glanced at Xia Wanjing, before he waved his hand and said, "Let's cut the bullshit. Since we have all arrived, let's begin. If we drag on any further, the energy within the Celestial Dan pool will be gone." Chapter 111, Celestial Pool Battle. Hearing Yu Shan's words, Xia Wanjin merely laughed as his eyes shifted towards the approaching Xuanzi and her party. His gaze swept over them but suddenly stopped at Lin Dong's body. Slightly stunned, he asked, "Xuanzi, Songqing did not come. We made a last-minute switch." Xuanzi gently smiled as she said. Upon having heard what was said, Xia Jinchen could not help let out a bitter laugh as his eyes scanned across Lin Dong's body. One could tell that he was slightly suspicious of this unfamiliar person. "Father, stop looking. Even though Lin Dong isn't very strong, at least he managed to defeat Songqing. Therefore, it's only natural for him to replace Songqing." To one side, Xia's Hailan intervened and said. "Oh." Xia Wanjin's eyebrows raised before he smiled kindly towards Lin Dong. If that was the case, then it was all right. "You all should recognize 2 of the 3 members the Blood Wolf gang appointed, the siblings Yu Feng and Yu Ling currently, both of them are at Heavenly Yuan late stage, similar to Hailan and Lu Yi. Thus, it's hard to tell who would emerge victorious in the end." "What about the remaining one?" Xia's Hailan was not too surprised as she opened her mouth to ask. "Rumors claim that he is a follower of the Blood Wolf gang. However, he is not as well known. Based on my observations, he should be at Heavenly Yuan middle stage." A pretty impressive foe. Xia Jinchen answered. Oh! Upon hearing these words, Xia's Hailan, Xian Su, and the rest stealthily heaved a sigh of relief. Heavenly Yuan middle stage. Lin Dong should be able to handle it since he managed to defeat Song Qing previously. While they were conversing, the Blood Wolf gang crowd split open as three figures strolled forward and finally stopped to stand behind Yu Shan. Lin Dong took the opportunity to take a glance, quickly spotting two males and one female. One of the two males was dressed in white and looked quite handsome, wearing a seemingly gentle smile on his face. He appeared rather out of place as he stood amongst the fearsome Blood Wolf gang, causing him to be exceedingly eye-catching. The other man was dressed in grey and had an ordinary appearance. Beside the man in white, the duo were like two extremes. As he stood there, the man in grey looked exactly like a common bodyguard. However, when Lin Dong's gaze swept across that man in grey, he did not know why but his eyebrows slightly furrowed. With regards to the remaining lady, she was quite beautiful. However, compared to Xia's Hailan, she was still a little lacking. At best, her beauty was at the same level as Xia Yingying. The man in white is Yu Feng, the son of the Yu Shan. Right now, he is at Heavenly Yuan late stage and is fairly renowned in Yan City. The lady is his younger sister Yu Ling. Both of them are highly talented and her strength is similar to her brother's. Meanwhile, with regards to the last person, he should be someone recruited by the Blood Wolf gang. Heavenly Yuan middle stage. That's not too bad, Lu Yi smiled as he informed to Lin Dong. Lin Dong lightly nodded in reply before he turned to glance at the unremarkable man in grey. When he could not detect anything extraordinary about the latter, he finally retracted his gaze. Let's cut the crap. Which one of you is first? While Lin Dong was sizing up the trio, the seemingly haughty Yu Ling grasped a long red whip as she took 2 steps forward, curled her lips and said while looking at Lin Dong and the rest. When they saw that Yu Ling had went up, the crowd from the Thousand Gold Association turned their gazes towards Xia's Hailan. The latter took a brief glance at the former before walking forward, chuckling, "Why are you in such a hurry to lose?" "Heh, Xia's Hailan, don't cry when I ruin your pretty face later," Yu Ling retorted. Her haughtiness seemed even more extreme than Xia's Hailan's. These two women already had a previous grudge. Furthermore, since the Thousand Gold Association and the Blood Wolf gang were not on friendly terms, once they met each other, they naturally started fighting. If both sides are ready, let this celestial pool battle begin. When they saw the two women enter the arena, the rest of the crowd swiftly retreated. In the blink of an eye, a large open space was created. Humph! Just as the voice faded, a powerful Yuan power almost simultaneously exploded from within these two women. The strong and fierce Yuan power was almost like a hurricane as it swept away all the surrounding leaves on the ground. Swish! Like a fiery python, the fiery red whip almost instantaneously darted through the air, swiftly lashing at Xia's Hailan. In the face of Yu Ling's merciless attack, Xia's Hailan snorted. Her jade-like hands grasped onto a fiery red sword that flashed into existence as she retreated backwards with light steps and began crossing blows with Yu Ling. Both women were at Heavenly Yuan late stage and they could be considered as well-known figures among the Yan City younger generation members. Therefore, their duel was fairly exciting. The shadow of the sword danced in tune with the wind from the whip, the resulting shockwaves causing crack after crack to emerge on the ground. Lin Dong carefully observed this intense battle. Moments later, he slowly retracted his gaze. Even though they were both at Heavenly Yuan late stage, it was evident that Xia's Hailan had a slight advantage over that Yu Ling in terms of Yuan power. At the beginning, it may not matter much. However, as the duel persisted, the difference would gradually begin to manifest itself. For this duel, Xia's Hailan's odds of victory should be slightly higher. Just as Lin Dong predicted, as the two continued their evenly matched exchange, Yu Ling's blows gradually began to falter while Xia's Hailan's attacks only grew in intensity. Victory! Lin Dong softly muttered in his heart. Soon after, a metallic sound echoed out as the whip in Yu Ling's hand was flicked away with a deft blow from the sword after Xia's Highland spotted a suitable opening. Meanwhile, her sword stopped right in front of Yu Ling. The first round goes to the 1,000 Gold Association. The judges invited from Yan City by the two factions shouted out together. After hearing these words, Xia's Highland slightly smiled as she turned to glance at the ashen-faced Yu Ling before promptly turning around and returning to the 1,000 Gold Association camp. Yu Ling, come back! With regards to Yu Ling's loss, the Blood Wolf gang leader, Yu Shan, was not too surprised as he muttered in an indifferent voice. Then, turning to the young man dressed in white standing beside him, he said, Feng Yar, it's your turn. Yes. Yu Feng smiled as he nodded his head and strolled forward, his eyes casually sweeping up and down Lin Dong's body before turning to Lu Yi. Lu Yi, it's your turn. When he heard Yu Feng's challenge, Lu Yi reluctantly sighed and walked forward, stopping before the former. His hands grasped onto a fine steel spear he retrieved from his Qian bag as he heavily stomped on the floor. Do give me some pointers. It must be said that there was indeed a good reason why Lu Yi was so highly valued by Manger Su, Xia's Highland, and the rest. Even without talking about his strength, just his character alone was already one that caused others to nod in approval. Yu Feng smiled in an indifferent manner as a dark red spear also quickly emerged. He jerked his arm, brandishing his spear as sparks flew, inadvertently showing that he had a pretty good mastery over the spear. When he saw Yu Feng's spear techniques, Lu Yi's facial expression turned serious. After all, he knew how strong his opponent was. In Yan City, the number of younger generation members that could defeat Yu Feng were very few indeed. Let the second match begin. Just as the judge's voice rang out, Yu Feng's expression almost instantaneously turned as sharp as a knife. The spear in his hand trembled as several spear attacks thrust towards multiple vital spots on Lu Yi's body. Clang clang! Faced with Yu Feng's formidable offensive, Lu Yi did not dare to relax. The long spear in his hand was just like an enraged python as it snaked forward and actually managed to deflect Yu Feng's attack. However, the powerful force resulting from the collision of the two spears caused his expression to slightly darken. Compared to the previous fight between Xia's Highland and Yu Ling, this duel was evidently more thrilling. Both parties were spear-using experts. The after-images of the deadly spear attacks seemed to fill the skies, causing a stifling atmosphere ripple outwards. Glued onto the scene of the two figures that caused sparks to fly at every exchange, several faces in the 1,000 Gold Association were filled with anxiety. If Lu Yi could defeat Yu Feng in this round, their 1,000 Gold Association would emerge victorious in this celestial pool battle. Lin Dong's attention was also focused on the two fiercely dueling figures. This was the first time he had witnessed such a spectacular fight between younger generation members. Compared to them, Lei and the rest from Qingyang town were hardly noteworthy. Clang clang clang! The two spears seemed to have lives of their own as they constantly collided in midair and sparks continuously emerged. Ding! The tips of both spears smashed against each together as a sharp and clear sound rang out. Both spears slightly curled as they were jolted backwards, the rebounding force causing the two to retreat a step back. Buzz! Just as his body fell backwards, Yu Feng's expression changed. Rapidly taking 2 steps forward, his arm began to vibrate at an extremely violent pace. Thanks to this vibration, the air surrounding him began to whistle. Visible to the naked eye, countless spear images began to condense into a tornado of spears. Under the infusion of Yuan power, a palpitating aura began to emerge from the epicenter. Heavy Shadow Spear, Level 4 Martial Arts. As they gazed at Yu Feng's formidable attack, the expressions of several people on the side of the 1,000 Gold Association changed. Even Manger Su's beautiful face sunk slightly. Heavy Shadow Spear has 4 layers. Each layer is more powerful than the one before. I've heard that Yu Feng is able to utilize the first 3 layers. The power generated by his blows is unmatched by any of the younger generation members. When he heard Xia Wanjin's words, Lin Dong secretly nodded his head. He was also able to sense how powerful this spear attack was. If he was the one facing it, he would probably have to utilize the third layer of Wonder Gate Seal in order to match up. Clang! In the same instance as those words were uttered, Yu Feng's whirlwind-like spear viciously exploded forward like a solid pillar of wind before it heavily slammed into Lu Yi's spear, which was now being fortified by all his Yuan power. A loud and powerful sound echoed out as a ferocious gale spread outwards, causing even the soil in the ground to be forcefully blown away. Meanwhile, Lu Yi was forced to retreat several steps. However, before he could catch his breath, that formidable and oppressive attack once again arrived, forcing him to continue warding off the successive blow with all his might. Clang! Clang! After two loud and clear echoes, everyone in the Thousand Gold Association felt their hearts skip a beat. They could see that after he intercepted Yu Feng's three heavy shadow spear attacks, the area between Lu Yi's thumb and forefinger had split open as fresh blood continuously flowed out. If it's only 3 blows, Lu Yi can still fight. As they witnessed this scene, Xia Wanjin and the rest lightly breathed a sigh of relief. However, before they could exhale, they suddenly saw Yu Feng release an odd laugh, the spear in his hand jolting forward as a whirlwind quickly condensed. Like a thunderbolt, it ruthlessly slammed onto Lu Yi's spear. Creak! After this powerful attack, Lu Yi could no longer endure. He spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and even the metal spear in his hand was forcefully bent. Gazing at Lu Yi, who was forced dozens of steps back before he finally stabilized himself, Xia Wanjin's, Xuan Su's and the rest's hearts sunk. They never expected that Yu Feng had actually mastered all 4 layers of heavy shadow spear. Thus, in this round, the Blood Wolf sect managed to equalize the score. At this thought, everyone's gazes almost simultaneous turned and looked towards Lin Dong. Chapter 112, The Last Duel. 1 win and 1 loss. The atmosphere immediately turned somewhat tense as numerous gazes started to look towards the two who had yet to make their appearance, Lin Dong and the man in grey. Lin Dong, it's your turn, you should be able to do it right. Currently, the worry on Xia's Highland's pretty face had deepened by quite a bit. She eyed Lin Dong with a somewhat complicated expression. If Lin Dong lost this match, their 1000 Gold Association would be fated to lose the Celestial Dan Pool. Lin Dong's lips slightly pursed as he stared unblinkingly at the ordinary and calm face of the man in grey and softly replied, I will do my best. That fellow's strength should not be that much different from Song Qing's. Victory should not be hard if you make use of the ability you brought out to defeat Song Qing from before. Xia's Highland said in a low voice. Perhaps, Lin Dong acknowledged her words, declining to comment any further. He had a feeling that this seemingly ordinary fellow was not as simple as he looked. Young friend, looks like the outcome of this celestial pool battle will be determined by you. Xia Wanjin said as he slightly smiled at Lin Dong. President Xia, this young one will give his best. Lin Dong clasped his hands together respectfully, without any further words, he strolled into the arena. Xuan Su, this person that you found, is he reliable? Gazing at Lin Dong's back, Xia Wanjin's eyebrow lightly furrowed as he inquired in a low voice. You should know how important the Celestial Dan Pool is. If our 1000 Gold Association is able to obtain the Celestial Dan Pool, Highland would then be able to break through to Yuan Dan stage within 2 years. Furthermore, the remaining energy can be used to nurture several Yuan Dan stage practitioners. This would cause our 1000 Gold Association's power to explode. Compared to Song Qing, he is more reliable. Xuan Su smiled indifferently, her answer rather vague. Since the end result had yet to be established, it would not be appropriate for her to make any definite statements. Let's hope so. Xia Wanjin clearly understood the temperament of his wife's younger sister and could only helplessly nod his head. After all, at this juncture, could he still find a last-minute replacement? When Lin Dong walked into the arena, many gazes from the Blood Wolf Gang faction concentrated on his body. Yet, these gazes were all a little puzzled. Evidently they were unable to recognize this unfamiliar face. I remember the last member should be Song Qing from the Song family. Since when did it change to this person? Beside Yu Shan, a lean elderly man commented in a low voice. It doesn't matter. Yu Shan casually shook his head before turning his gaze towards the man in grey who had yet to speak. Zhongli, it's your turn. Yes. The man who was called Zhongli maintained an impassive look on his face as he nodded before saying, remember our agreement? Haha, worry not. If my blood wolf gang is able to obtain this celestial Dan pool, the reward promised to you will not be lacking. Yu Shan smiled and said. Upon hearing these words, Zhongli finally smiled as he walked into the arena at a pace that was neither fast nor slow. He stopped in front of Lin Dong and lowered his head to adjust his sleeves before he said in a cold voice, I never engage in friendly spars. In this duel, I will not show any mercy. If you are not prepared, perhaps it would be better to leave. Many thanks for your warning. Lin Dong smiled and cupped his hands together but did not retreat. He then extended an arm, please. Zhongli lifted his head and glanced at Lin Dong, a strange expression on his face as he softly sighed before his extremely long and skinny palms stretched forward. If that is so, don't blame me for being merciless. After hearing Zhongli softly mumble to himself, just as Lin Dong was about to reply, his pupils suddenly contracted. Before his eyes, a number of fingers penetrated through the air in a flash like knives as they shot towards Lin Dong's throat. Around the unusually long fingers, a strong and extremely condensed Yuan power undulated as tiny whirlwinds quickly gathered at the fingertips. The might of one finger was enough to pierce through steel. Such a strong finger technique! Outside the arena, the crowd were inevitably amazed by Zhong Li's attack. Faced with Zhong Li's attack, Lin Dong's expression turned serious. His eyes locked onto the incoming finger attack until the former was only a few feet away before he abruptly lashed out like a patiently waiting leopard. Lin Dong's palms were wrapped with Yuan power as they slid past Zhong Li's fingers by a hair's breadth and then slapped downwards, heavily slapping on the back of the latter's hand. A skillful utilization of energy directly neutralizing Zhong Li's attack. Thanks to the ability of mental energy to sense even the most minute of details, Lin Dong could clearly grasp the variations in Zhong Li's finger technique. This was why he was able to easily disperse the other party's attack at such a critical moment. Chi. Yet, Zhong Li was obviously not an ordinary individual. When his attack was neutralized, he neither retreated nor advanced. 10 fingers danced in the air as ominous attacks flew towards Lin Dong's body like a torrential rain, intent on doing grievous harm. Pa. As Zhong Li's attack suddenly jumped in intensity, Lin Dong again chose not to retreat. Changing to a fist style, crisp sounds immediately echoed out. Lin Dong's mastery of penetrating fist had already reached towering heights. When he utilized it, a series of solid punches were performed. Though the punches were plain and ordinary, they were delivered with a unique grace. This unique grace caused amazement to be exposed on Xie Wanjin's and the rest's faces. Even though penetrating fist was only an ordinary level 1 martial arts, there were very few people who could master it to such a level. A torrent of fist images seemed to fill the sky, like a steel wall, regardless of how Zhong Li's finger technique thrust out at tricky and ruthless angles, he was not able to gain even the slightest advantage. Father, Zhong Li does not seem to have the upper hand. As he observed the duel, Yu Feng's eyebrows furrowed as he softly asked. He did not understand why Yu Shan had such confidence in that person. Just keep watching, Yu Shan chuckled. He did not seem too worried. Looks like he really had a great deal of confidence in Zhong Li. Screech. A deadly finger wind attack scratched Lin Dong's fist with an ear-piercing screech. Even though it left a shallow line of blood, it was clearly only a minor physical wound. Just as Zhong Li's fingertips scratched him, Lin Dong's fist also landed on his chest. Even though the blow was softened by the latter's Yuan power, which was protecting his body, the attack still caused Zhong Li to fall half a step back. Bang! Jolted half a step back, Zhong Li quickly stabilized his body. He stared at Lin Dong and licked his lips as a bloodthirsty glint flashed in his eyes. Just as that bloodthirsty glint appeared, a strong Yuan power undulation that seemed to have been suppressed for a long time almost instantaneously exploded from within Zhang Li's body. That Yuan power undulation and aura did not lose out to Yu Feng and Xia's Hailan. Heavenly Yuan late stage. When they saw Zhang Li's sudden surge in power, on the side of the Thousand Gold Association, several expressions changed as they shouted out in shock. He has indeed hidden his strength. Xia Wanjin eyebrows tightly knitted together. It seems like the worst-case scenario had indeed materialized. This time, it seems like the Blood Wolf gang had somehow managed to find a young expert. Thanks to this unforeseen development, Xia's Hailan and the rest, who were standing to one side, gripped their fists as their hearts sunk. Heavenly Yuan late stage. Lin Dong's expression was slightly rippled. However, he did not feel too surprised. Immediately, he took a few steps forward, two of his fingers slightly curled as an exceptionally powerful Yuan power swiftly condensed and took shape. Like a sword's edge, in a blink of an eye, he immediately jabbed at Zhang Li, whose power had greatly increased. Bang! Faced with Lin Dong's assault, Zhang Li merely chuckled. Harboring no intention to retreat, his exceptionally long fingers immediately thrusted towards Lin Dong's deadly finger attack. As these four fingers met, a strong Yuan power undulation exploded out almost instantly. Buzz! In that same instance, just as Zhang Li was planning to exert more force to break Lin Dong's fingers, he suddenly saw Lin Dong's eyes light up as a formless wave darted towards him in a flash. Mental energy. As he sensed that incoming wave, Zhang Li was stunned. He immediately utilized the Yuan power in his body to form a protective shield. Buzz! Even though he managed to lay down his defenses in time, Zhang Li had evidently underestimated the strength of Lin Dong's mental energy. The needle-like mental energy forcefully tore apart the Yuan power shield upon contact. Even though its magnitude was reduced by several times, the remaining mental energy wave still managed to reach Zhang Li's mind. Immediately, a violent pain emerged in his head. Such powerful mental energy! As a sharp pain emerged in his head, Zhang Li was both shocked and angry. He finally understood that he was not the only one who had hidden his strength. This unfamiliar person had also held back. Bang! While Zhang Li's head was aching, the additional force he was just about to exert dissipated. In turn, Lin Dong's finger attack made use of this sudden opportunity. Strength exploded force as he suddenly jabbed forward, a powerful force heavily transmitting through Zhang Li's fingers. Snap! That powerful force was just like a tidal wave as Zhang Li's fingers went crooked. Evidently, the bones in his fingers were broken after this forceful collision. Furthermore, this powerful impact also caused Zhang Li to be directly blown away before he slammed heavily into a giant rock. The resulting force causing even tiny cracks to emerge on that giant rock. Victory! When they saw this dramatic reversal, celebratory calls immediately exploded from the Thousand Gold Association faction's side. Even Xia's Hailan, like the rest, had a happy expression on her pretty face. It's not over yet. While they were rejoicing, Xia Wanjin solemnly shook his head as he said. Upon hearing his words, Xia's Hailan and the rest were stunned. Immediately, they turned to look at that slightly ragged Zhang Li, only to see the latter gradually rising up. Meanwhile, a thick bloody mist gushed out from his pores. Like blood, it had a pungent bloody smell. Zhang Li slowly climbed up. He stared maliciously at Lin Dong, who had his eyebrows furrowed, and said in a coarse voice, "To be able to push me this far, you are indeed capable. However, it should be time to finish this." Chapter 113, Blood Transformation Art. A bloody mist continuously sprayed out from Zhang Li's body. In the end, this blood mist slowly pulled back and condensed to form a thin blood-red layer on surface of Zhang Li's body. Both his palms were also wrapped in a layer of blood, and at the tip of his fingers, sharp pointed ends made of blood protruded out as they glimmered with a cold light. These transformations were completed in a very brief period, and when the bloody mist had all gathered and condensed into a layer of blood, Zhang Li's aura once again continued to soar under the shocked gazes of the crowd. The current Zhongli was already at Heavenly Yuan late stage. Another leap in power after this stage would be initial Yuan Dan stage. A level that is entirely different from that of the Heavenly Yuan stage. This is, Xian Su's pretty face looked towards Zhongli as his body was slowly being surrounded by a layer of blood. As if something had suddenly struck her, a trace of astonishment flashed into her eyes. Blood covers iron art. To one side, Xia Wanjin said in a low voice. Blood transformation art. Xia's Highland and the rest were stunned. An extremely vicious and cruel secret art. When activated, it can evaporate the blood within the body, causing one's strength to swell for a short time. However, the repercussions are very severe. After Zhongli has used it, he would probably have to recuperate for at least half a year before he recovers. Xia Wanjin slowly explained. How far will Zhongli's strength rise? Xia's Highland hastily asked. Likely the initial Yuan Dan stage. Xia Wanjin let out a bitter laugh as he replied. Initial Yuan Dan stage. Upon hearing these words, Xia's Highlands and the rest's faces instantly turned pale. Everyone knew about the huge gap between the Heavenly Yuan stage and the initial Yuan Dan stage. They were able to be hopeful that Lin Dong would be able to contend against the Heavenly Yuan late stage Zhongli by some fluke or chance. Yet, they were unable to imagine how Lin Dong would be able to defeat a Zhongli who had now rose to the initial Yuan Dan stage. Defeating Zhongli would not be possible even for them. This time, we are going to lose. Their previous joy had been completely obliterated. Xia's Highland and the rest were like eggplants that had been beaten by the frost, immediately turning dispirited. When she saw their low morale, Xian Su also helplessly sighed. No one had ever expected that among the three duels, the one most unremarkable Zhongli was actually the strongest person. It was no wonder that Yu Shan had not lost his composure from start to end. He had known everything from the beginning. So he actually had such a skill. Father is brilliant indeed. On the Blood Wolf Gang's side, Yu Feng likewise had a look of amazement as he stared at Zhongli, whose body was entirely covered in blood, as he said, his voice colored with hints of amazement and joy. Zhongli was a helper that I took great pains to find. After he activates the blood transformation art, he will reach the initial Yuan Dan level. Although this power cannot be considered top tier in Yan City, for the younger generation like you, it is a matchless existence. The celestial Dan pool belongs to our Blood Wolf Gang, Yu Shan smiled and said. However, the ability of that young one to push Zhongli to this step is also out of my expectations. I can tell that the attack he used before contained traces of mental energy. He is likely a symbol master. The 1000 Gold Association is rather capable after all. But even so, their loss is already determined. Yu Feng softly chuckled. Ha ha! No wonder I had a weird feeling, this was the reason. While both factions were still shocked by Zhongli's transformation, Lin Dong was also surprised as his eyebrows raised. This was the first time he had encountered this kind of self-destructive method that allowed one to raise one's strength for a short period. Initial Yuan Dan stage. Lin Dong pursed his lips. Truthfully, this was the first time he had truly fought against an enemy of this level. Although he had killed the second seal symbol master, Gu Ying, in Qingyang town previously, it was largely by luck. If the latter had not recklessly summoned his destiny symbol and Lin Dong's destiny soul symbol was not coincidentally a little eccentric and straight away almost sucked dry all of the mental energy from both of Gu Ying's destiny symbols, even if Lin Dong could somehow defeat Gu Ying, in the end, Lin Dong would definitely be unable to kill Gu Ying so easily. A second seal symbol master had the power to contest against an initial Yuan Dan stage expert, however, this was the first time Lin Dong had the chance to fight with an initial Yuan Dan stage practitioner. Yet, Lin Dong's training over this period was naturally not just for show. Currently, even without the aid of his destiny soul symbol's extraordinary sucking ability, he had the power to achieve a genuine victory over Gu Ying. Thus, the current Lin Dong was not afraid of an initial Yuan Dan stage practitioner. To be able to push me to this far, you should have no regrets even if you die. While Lin Dong's gaze flickered, Zhang Li's body had already been completely covered by that thin layer of blood. A scarlet pair of eyes stared at Lin Dong like a wild beast. Under the watchful gaze of this scarlet pair of eyes, Lin Dong also turned vigilant. He was able to feel a dangerous aura from Zhang Li's body. Bang! With both scarlet eyes fixed on Lin Dong, Zhang Li suddenly stomped. His body transformed into a red shadow as it violently burst forward. This speed was much faster compared to before. The red shadow reflected in his eyes rapidly grew. With a serious expression on his face, Lin Dong was able to figure out the trajectory of Zhang Li's body using perceptive powers of his mental energy. As a result, his immediately shifted one step to the side. Swish! In the instance when Lin Dong's body shifted, a red flash streaked across the spot he had occupied just a moment before. A terrifying energy tinged with the pungent smell of blood opened up a crack several feet deep in the ground. Humph! His first strike hitting nothing but air, the red in Zhang Li's eyes grew even darker as the blood stingers which condensed on his fingers straight away thrust forward. Their target was Lin Dong's throat. As expected, this fellow was ruthless. The speed of Zhang Li's attack was clearly incomparable to before. In a flash of red, the attack approached Lin Dong's throat. Just as it was about to pierce through, Lin Dong's figure abruptly floated backwards through the air. Taking a closer look, it turned out that two shadows were floating under Lin Dong's feet, supporting his body. With the aid of mental energy, Lin Dong's movements became extremely nimble. He swiftly retreated out of Zhang Li's attack range while the Destiny Soul symbol in his Nuan Palace trembled violently. Threads of strong mental energy quickly condensed before him. The formless mental energy rapidly gathered. In the blink of an eye, it took the shape of a spinning cone. Such strong mental energy! Upon seeing that Lin Dong could actually manipulate mental energy to this extent, Xia Wanjin and Yu Shan were both slightly surprised. It was exceedingly difficult for a normal first seal symbol master to condense mental energy and give it shape. Likewise, Zhang Li could also sense the power of the mental energy Lin Dong had condensed. A trace of seriousness flashed across the scarlet pair of eyes. Immediately, his footsteps stopped as his hand slapped onto a small protruding bump on his chest. After which, the layer of blood that covered his body slowly dispersed. As the layer of blood dispersed, threads of blood started to gather at Zhang Li's palm. Immediately, his arm grew scarlet and hideous, as if it was the blood-red arm of Azura. The blood arm condensed and assembled. Without giving Lin Dong any time to prepare, Zhang Li's knees slightly bent before quickly dashing towards Lin Dong like an evil wolf. Blood transformation, arm! A shout sounded out as a blood-red light exploded on the mountain top. Immediately, a blood-red mark that was several feet large appeared on Zhang Li's palm. Piercing helicity! Gazing at the bloody aura that was speedily rushing towards him, a harsh light flitted across Lin Dong's eyes. With a low shout, the tornado-like cone of mental energy wave before him started to spin before finally zipping forward like a poison dragon boring into the ground. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, the bloody light and tornado-like mental energy wave directly clashed together in mid-air. Bang! A loud noise thundered across the mountain top as a violent gale burst outwards, jolting some of the nearby trees until they were forcefully uprooted. The crowd endured the gale as it blew past, their gazes fixed unblinkingly on a spot in the air. There, the bloody light and the mental energy wave exploded after a split second. Boom! A figure violently flew out from the explosion, a groan leaking from his lips. His complexion was scarily pale and blood continuously flowed from the corners of his mouth. In the end, he smashed through a few trees before crashed into the ground and slowly coming to a halt. Zhang Li. Watching the sorry figure finally come to a stop on the ground, everyone almost instantly concentrated their gazes on it. When they saw that ragged and pale face, each and every one of them involuntarily cried out. Within their voices was a trace of incredulousness. As these cries rang out, Zhang Li's complexion flushed red and he spurted out a mouthful of blood. Soon after, a fierce look flitted across his eyes. However, just as he was about to struggle to stand up, a black shadow flickered and an icy pressure attacked him. Immediately, his body froze, not daring to move an inch. When his body went rigid, Zhang Li's gaze slowly shifted down towards the two sharp shrapnel that were suspended at his throat. He swallowed hard. He did not have the slightest doubt that if he made any more movements, those sharp shrapnel would pierce through his throat in an instant. From their previous exchange, he knew that this opponent of his was likewise no naive fool. As they gazed at sight of Zhang Li, who kept very still as the two shrapnel pressed against his throat, the mountain top lapsed into a brief moment of silence. Xia's Hailan and the rest had faces full of astonishment. They had never expected that even after Zhang Li had activated blood transformation art and greatly increased his strength, the outcome would turn out this way. Thud! While the mountain top was frozen in silence, a figure slowly landed on the ground before turning his gaze to the similarly stupefied judge, frowning as he asked, "Is the duel over?" "Over, it's over." Upon hearing his voice, the judge hastily nodded his head. The third round goes to the 1000 Gold Association. Chapter 114, Entering the Celestial Dan Pool. When the judges' voices echoed out on the mountain peak, both factions momentarily fell silent. Immediately, cheers erupted from the 1000 Gold Association's side. This outcome had surpassed everyone's expectations. No one had ever imagined that even after Zhang Li used blood conversion art to forcefully upgrade his power to initial Yuan Dan stage, he would still be defeated by Lin Dong. "Xuan Su, your judgment is great as always." Even though Lin Dong's innate Yuan power isn't extremely strong, his mental energy is exceptionally powerful. Based on that secret spirit art that he displayed at the end, he has probably advanced to the second seal symbol master level. Xia Wanjin's face was plastered with pride and joy over this unexpected victory as he turned to Xuansu and smiled. Upon hearing these words, Xuansu gently smiled in response. Her beautiful face seemed calm, however in the sea of her heart, waves were raging. According to Master Ruo, Lin Dong had only begun training his mental energy for a short period of time. However, the current him had already reached a level similar to a second seal symbol master. His progress was simply incredulous. This boy's talent probably far exceeds Master Ruo's expectations. His achievements in the future will definitely be extremely terrifying, a glint flashed in Xuansu's beautiful eyes. Right now, Lin Dong's strength could not be considered top tier in Yan City, however his potential was simply unmatched. Even if they could not recruit him, they definitely must not offend him. Xuansu had always been fairly confident in her judgment. This fellow has hidden himself so well. Xia's Hailan glanced at the ragged figure of Zhang Li, before she turned to look at the young man, who emitted a strong pressure while standing in the middle of the arena as her face involuntarily turned slightly red. Of course, this was not a sign of affection. Rather, Xia's Hailan had recalled all the harsh words that she had spoken to Lin Dong, such as boasting about the 2 consecutive victories and emphasizing that he was merely a stand-in. As she observed the situation now and recalled her words, Xia's Hailan's face began to feel slightly warm. In fact, it was almost like she had slapped her own face rather soundly. "We lost." While the 1000 Gold Association was rejoicing, over at Blood Wolf Gang, it suddenly became extremely quiet. Meanwhile, Yu Shan and the rest's faces turned exceedingly grim. Originally, they thought that they would easily win this round. However, the final outcome had completely surprised them. "Seems like that kid is the real trump card of the 1000 Gold Association." Beside Yu Shan, a hideous-looking elderly man let out a bitter laugh as he muttered softly. "Where did that kid come from?" Yu Feng furrowed his eyebrows as he asked, a hint of coldness in his voice. In Yan City, he could be considered as one of the elite younger generation members. However, even he did not have the confidence that he could defeat an initial Yuan Dan stage practitioner. Yet, Lin Dong, who looked even younger, was able to accomplish such a feat. This caused a hint of resentment and jealousy to surface in his heart. "I do not know. He is very unfamiliar. Perhaps, he is not from our Yan City." Upon hearing Yu Feng's conversation, Yu Shan narrowed his eyes as he stared at Lin Dong. Meanwhile, a cold glint flashed in his pupils. Sect leader Yu Shan, now that the results have been announced. Thank you. When he saw Yu Shan staring at Lin Dong, Xia Wanjin casually smiled as he cupped his hands and said, "Heh, President Xia seems to have found a good helper." Yu Shan chuckled. "Likewise to you. However, now that our 1000 Gold Association has achieved 2 out of 3 victories, this Celestial Dan pool belongs to our faction. With regards to this fact, sect leader you should have no objections, right?" Xia Wanjin smiled as he said. When he heard these words, Yu Shan and the rest involuntarily clenched their fists. Yu Feng and Yu Ling were even more disgruntled. After all, this Celestial Dan pool was exceedingly useful for Heavenly Yuan late-stage practitioners like them. If they could absorb the energy within, then the time needed for them to advance to Yuan Dan stage will shrink by several times. When they saw the actions of the Blood Wolf sect, several experts at the 1000 Gold Association began to tense up as their hands slowly extended to the weapons strapped at their waist. What? Sect leader Yu Shan does not want to admit his loss? Today's matter is well known among Yan City's factions. If news of this event spread out, it might hurt the Blood Wolf gang's reputation. That's not good at all. Xia Wanjin's face remained calm as he stared at Yu Shan and casually said. Yu Shan's facial expression was in a constant flux. Moments later, he chuckled and said, "Worry not, my Blood Wolf gang can afford this loss." "Father!" When he heard these words, Yu Feng yelled out unhappily. "Leave!" As Yu Shan commanded in an unwavering voice, he waved his hand and instructed 2 men to support the ragged Zhongli. Then, he immediately led the rest of his troops and headed down the mountain. Just as he passed by Lin Dong, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at the latter. Suddenly, with a smile, he said, "This young man is indeed powerful. Our Blood Wolf gang deserves this loss. In the future, if you are interested, you are welcome to come to our Blood Wolf gang. I will definitely treat you with the utmost respect." "Thank you for the offer, sect leader Yu Shan." Faced with this elite practitioner from Yan City, Lin Dong did not dare to be slow as he quickly cupped his hands and smiled. When his gaze met Yu Shan's, he felt his heart shiver. From the latter's eyes, he could detect a hint of coldness. It seems like, contrary to this appearance, this Yu Shan was not as savage as he seemed. In fact, this man was quite cunning. After he made this customary greeting, Yu Shan could not be bothered to speak any further. He lifted his leg and left. Behind him, Yu Feng and the rest turned to glare at Lin Dong before they also left. With regards to their stares, Lin Dong chose to ignore them. Even though his actions may have offended the Blood Wolf gang, that was the price to pay to obtain the Celestial Dan pool. In fact, he could also use this opportunity to improve his relationship with 1000 Gold Association. Therefore, his overall gains probably exceed his losses. As the Blood Wolf gang left the mountain like a flood, the mountain peak suddenly became much emptier. For this celestial pool battle, we must sincerely thank this young one, Lin Dong, for your assistance. After the Blood Wolf gang withdrew, Xia Wanjin walked over and said with a smile. His attitude was undoubtedly much better than before. "It is my duty after all." Lin Dong smiled as he said. "Don't worry, since we have agreed to let you absorb the energy from the Celestial Dan pool, we will not go back on it." Xian Su gently stepped forward as she smiled and said. When he heard her words, Xia Wanjin was slightly taken aback. In the end, he did not speak any further. After all, the strength that Lin Dong had displayed indicated that he was a worthy member for them to recruit. Xian Su led the group as they approached the small pool near the mountain walls. As they were approaching, Lin Dong could clearly feel a potent yin and yang energy floating over the pool. "When I first discovered this Celestial Dan pool, there was an extremely powerful demonic beast guarding it. After a grueling battle, not only was I unable to defeat it, but that Yu Shan also discovered it and rushed over. Finally, after the 2 of us joined forces, we were able to injure that demonic beast and chase it away. However, that was also the reason why we were forced to hold this celestial pool battle. Xia Wanjin stood beside the celestial Dan pool as he softly sighed. Oh! Upon hearing these words, Lin Dong was slightly moved. What demonic beast was so powerful such that it actually required 2 perfect Yuan Dan experts to force it to retreat? I have already measured the amount of energy in this celestial Dan pool and it should be sufficient for 4 people. Since Xiansu has already promised Lin Dong, then naturally we will keep our word. How about this, the 4 people shall be Zhailan, Lu Yi, Lin Dong and Xia Shi. As he stared at the celestial Dan pool, Xia Wanjin contemplated for a moment before he made his decision. The first 3 people nominated had took part in the competition. For the last member, he was a fairly well-reputed member of Thousand Gold Association. With regards to Lin Dong's appointment, most of them did not object. After all, if Lin Dong had not managed to pull an upset and defeat Zhang Li, the ones who were departing now would probably be their Thousand Gold Association. Therefore, even Xia Zhailan did not dare to speak up. Evidently, she had acknowledged Lin Dong's strength and contributions. The 4 of you can enter the Celestial Dan pool together. Though it is not a large pool, it is exceedingly deep and cold in the deeper parts. It is best not to venture deeply. During this period of time, if any mishaps happen, we will be around to protect all of you. With regards to how much energy you can absorb from this Celestial Dan pool, it will depend on yourself. When they heard Xia Wanjin's words, the 4 of them nodded their heads. Then, with a slightly feverish look, they stared at the yin and yang energy rising from the pool. Haha, now that you have been informed, let's begin, Xia Wanjin gently smiled before he sat down on a rock nearby. The rest of the Thousand Gold Association's troops began to disperse themselves as they stood guard nearby. Splash! The person who entered the pool first was naturally Xia Zhailan. Yuan power undulated around her body, like a thin protective layer, before she immediately leapt into the Celestial Dan pool. When Xia Zhailan jumped into the pool, a vortex immediately formed on the water's surface as streams of pure yin and yang energy quickly gathered together. Evidently, the former had already begun absorbing the energy. When they witnessed this sight, Lu Yi and that burly man known as Xia Shi immediately leapt into the pool. After all, the energy in the pool was limited and they did not want to lose out, that would be a tragedy. When he saw their actions, Lin Dong involuntarily laughed. Then, following Xia Zhailan's example, he let Yuan power spread out across his body before he leapt into the pool. Splash! As Lin Dong and the rest jumped in, that vortex on the Celestial Dan pool began to grow as the sound of water churning began to spread out. Chapter 115, Qi Gathering Mental Vortex. Such a vigorous and pure yin-yang energy. As Lin Dong entered the Celestial Dan pool, he immediately felt the vigorous energy that filled the pool. It was the first time Lin Dong had encountered an energy this potent. No wonder this Celestial Dan pool can greatly decrease the time to reach the Yuan Dan stage. Lin Dong suddenly had a flash of realization. His efforts this time had not been in vain. I need to hurry and absorb the energy here. Lin Dong's gaze swept across his surroundings. In a distance, he saw Xia Zhailan and the other 2 floating in the pool. However, the 3 of them had long ago closed their eyes and entered a state of cultivation. Strong suction forces were constantly emitted from their bodies, which absorbed the vigorous yin-yang energies into their bodies. After seeing Xia Zhailan and the other 2 already racing against time to absorb the energy from the Celestial Dan pool, Lin Dong no longer tarried and sat cross-legged in the pool. He activated Qing Yuan art as the opened channels released a suction force, absorbing the pure and potent yin-yang energy. It must be said that the energy of the Celestial Dan pool was at least several times more potent than the outside world. Lin Dong had only just started and he already felt gentle streams arise from within the pool before finally following his opened channels to be absorbed into his body. Under this infusion, Lin Dong could clearly feel the Yuan power qi bundle within his Danshan strengthen increasingly at an impressive speed. As expected of the Celestial Dan pool. This sensation of feeling the Yuan power within the Danshan increase little by little caused an uncontainable joy to surface on Lin Dong's face. Yet this happiness did not last for long as his brow slightly furrowed. He had found out that the speed at which he absorbed the energy in the celestial Dan pool was actually slower than Xia's Hylan and the other two. This goddamned Qing Yuan art, it's too useless. After realizing this situation, Lin Dong could not help but feel a little angry. Only now did he discover how important a high-tier secret art was. Even when he utilized Qing Yuan art to its fullest, the speed at which it absorbed still could not match up to Xia's Hylan and the other two. Under the awareness of his mental energy, he was able to find out that Xia's Hylan had a total of 15 suction points while Lu Yi had 12 and even Xia Shi had 10. This meant that the secret arts they trained in could open at least 10 channels. Compared to them, the 7 channels of Lin Dong's Qing Yuan art was really pathetic. Next time I must obtain a better secret art. Lin Dong clenched his teeth as he settled on this idea. No matter how expensive it was, he must definitely obtain a worthy secret art. However, those were matters for next time. Currently, Lin Dong could only enjoy this pitiful absorption rate. Fiercely glancing at Xia's Hylan and the other two, Lin Dong felt a little disgruntled. He had taken the huge risk of offending the Blood Wolf gang to help out, thus, he did not want to lose out on the benefits from this celestial Dan pool. Heh, little one, do you want to absorb the yin-yang energy here faster? While Lin Dong helplessly gnashed his teeth, a familiar voice suddenly sounded out in his mind. The sudden arrival of the voice caused Lin Dong to be taken aback, but he quickly clenched his right fist. That voice was clearly from the mysterious small Martin within the stone talisman. Don't make a fuss, if you want to converse with this grandfather Martin, infuse your mental energy into the stone talisman. Upon hearing these words, Lin Dong was stunned. Soon after, he sent a trace of mental energy into the stone talisman as he voiced out a thought, "You can help me." Of course. The small Martin's rude voice immediately replied. Why so nice? Lin Dong was somewhat suspicious as he asked. Though this small Martin had a mysterious origin, it was extremely cautious around him and had never taken the initiative to help him. Heh, Grandfather Martin is definitely not someone who wants to build good relations with others. I have a way to help you swiftly absorb the yin-yang energy here, yet, you must do me a favor later. The small Martin let out an eccentric laugh. Didn't you say you do not have much power? Lin Dong replied without batting an eyelid. I will merely give you a technique that can increase your absorption speed. The rest still depends on you. What do you want me to help you with? Lin Dong's eyes turned and did not immediately agree. I can sense a little something deep beneath the pool, you will go and take a look later, the small Martin said. There was something? What is it? Lin Dong was first stunned before he quickly inquired. I'm not too sure either, I can barely sense it. As for what it is, we will know later. Are you willing or not? If you tarry any further, the energy in this pool would probably be sucked away by the other three. The small Martin urged him. Lin Dong's expression slightly changed as he glanced at Lin Xia and the other two, who were greedily absorbing the energy in the celestial Dan pool, before firmly nodding his head, all right, it's a deal. Buzz. In the instance when Lin Dong nodded, information suddenly appeared in his head. Qi gathering mental vortex, secret spirit skill. What appeared in Lin Dong's mind was a secret spirit skill, yet, he did not know what tier it was. Lin Dong mulled for a while when astonishment suddenly flashed across his eyes as he mumbled, to think that mental energy could actually be used this way, it's really an eye-opener. This so-called Qi-gathering mental vortex did not have any offensive powers but instead seemed to be purely supportive in nature. Its effect was to condense a mental energy whirlpool through a special method, and this mental energy whirlpool had the power of absorption, though Lin Dong did not how much better it was compared to his Qing Yuan art. To condense a Qi-gathering mental vortex was not difficult. However, he needed to make sure the swirls matched up to some particular acupuncture points. If he messed this up, it would disrupt the flow of Yuan power in his body. Fortunately, the information from the small Martin was extremely complete, thus Lin Dong did not end up injuring himself. He lightly inhaled as waves of strong mental energy gushed out from his Nuan palace. The mental energy gathered at a point to the upper right of his dantian, and under the control of Lin Dong, it condensed into a vortex. Even with the detailed instructions, Lin Dong still failed the first 2 times. On his third try, he finally managed to successfully form a complete qi-gathering mental vortex. Buzz! In the instance when the qi-gathering mental vortex was successfully formed, a humming noise immediately sounded out. As the vortex swirled, it emitted an extremely powerful suction force. Splash! When this suction force suddenly exploded out, the pool water around Lin Dong promptly whistled as streams of vigorous yin and yang energy, that could be seen by the naked eye, swiftly bubbled out from the pool water before pouring into the mental energy whirlpool above Lin Dong's dantian like an unending stream. In that same instance, the entire pool started to churn as a whirlpool formed around Lin Dong's body while he sat at the center, swallowing the vigorous and pure energy. That guy! This abrupt change caused Xia's Hailan and the other 2 to be startled. When they saw Lin Dong practically plundering the energy in the celestial Dan pool, they were shocked. Xia's Hailan could not help but curse as the trio quickly increased the output of their secret art to the limit. According to this trend, if they did not hurry up and absorb, all the energy in the entire celestial Dan pool would be sucked clean by Lin Dong. Yet, the trio's efforts were clearly no longer a threat to Lin Dong after he had utilized this cheating method. Lin Dong ignored them as he urged on the mental energy whirlpool and greedily absorbed the energy in the celestial Dan pool. Under this whale-like absorption, the Yuan power chi bundle in Lin Dong's dantian strengthened at an almost insane rate. And while the Yuan energy within the dantian swiftly strengthened, an extremely abundant energy also spread throughout Lin Dong's body. Heavenly Yuan late stage. When he sensed this sudden change within his body, delight bubbled in Lin Dong's heart. With the aid of the energy in the celestial Dan pool, he had finally successfully advanced to Heavenly Yuan late stage. Haha! Though he had successfully reached Heavenly Yuan late stage, Lin Dong did not plan to stop. Condensing a Yuan Dan was no easy matter, and since there was such a good opportunity today, he naturally needed to make use of it and absorb even more of the pure yin-yang energy. This would greatly help him in shortening the time to condense a Yuan Dan and even upgrade the quality of the Yuan Dan formed. This seemingly insatiable absorption continued for half an hour until Lin Dong felt that the Yuan power chi bundle in his dantian was unable to strengthen any further. Only then did he grudgingly stop. With a flick of his mind, the mental energy whirlpool above his dantian scattered. Although this chi-gathering mental vortex did not have any attacking capabilities, the amount in which it improved the cultivation of Yuan power was not small. Brat, you've absorbed enough. Time to go down and take a look. When Lin Dong stopped, the small Martin's voice once again rang out. Don't worry, since I've made a promise, I will not go back on it. Lin Dong smiled as he replied before tilting his head down to look at the deep area of the celestial Dan pool. Truthfully, he was also rather interested in the thing below that had managed to attract the interest of the mysterious small Martin. There should still be some time before Xia's Hailan and the other 2 finish. I might as well take this chance to take a look. Lin Dong glanced at Xia's Hailan and the other 2 who were still concentrating on absorbing energy. After muttering to himself for a while, he no longer hesitated as his body swiftly swam like a fish towards the pitch-black darkness of the pool bottom while clad in Yuan power. TLN, in this chapter, the qi in the new skill likely refers to absorbing yin and yang energy, which can also be translated as yin and yang qi from the original Chinese, though not sure if qi is a legitimate translation. Angry Face. Chapter 116, Demonic Jade Water Python. The depths of the celestial Dan pool was not as easy to traverse as Lin Dong expected. Instead, it appeared especially twisted and tortuous, and there were numerous paths. Water flowed out from those paths and transformed into a torrent, constantly emitting, crashing into something. Such a concentrated cold qi. As he dove deeper, Lin Dong started to feel a bone-chilling cold qi. Looks like Xia Wanjin was right. The cold qi underneath this celestial Dan pool was extremely concentrated. Strong yuan power gushed out of his dantian before wrapping around Lin Dong's body as the bone-chilling cold qi slightly weakened. The underneath of this celestial dan pool is too complicated. If this continues, I will not last for long. While he dived downwards, Lin Dong's voice transmitted into the stone talisman. Almost there, almost there. Take the path on the right. The small Martin's voice swiftly replied. Upon hearing these words, Lin Dong turned his head to look at that pitch-black path, having no choice but to grit his teeth and zip in like a fish. Not long after Lin Dong entered the path, he felt the cold qi quietly weaken a little and was surprised. Almost there, the small Martin's voice was tinted with a bit of excitement as it rang out. After hearing these words, Lin Dong's speed slowed slightly as a vigilant look was revealed on his face and the yuan power within his body began to move. No one knew exactly what was under this celestial dan pool, thus it would not be wrong for him to be cautious. Moments after Lin Dong's speed slowed, a dim light suddenly shone in the dark path as the view before his eyes abruptly widened. Pop! A tiny noise sounded out and Lin Dong suddenly found that the surrounding pool water had strangely disappeared as his feet landed on the moist floor of a cave. The cave was not big and the only exit was the one Lin Dong had swum in through. However, what was strange was that when the pool water reached the cave entrance, it seemed to be stopped by a formless object. This was why the cave was not full of pool water. Lin Dong's gaze was filled with amazement as he looked at the small moist cave. Clearly, he had never expected that there would actually be such an unusual place at the bottom of the celestial dan pool. His gaze slightly sized up the cave before concentrating at the center. There, a deep blue ball of light that was the size of a head was quietly floating. Within it, the moving shadow of a snake was faintly discernible. While he gazed at the deep blue light ball, Lin Dong's expression turned serious. He could sense that there was an extremely powerful energy within it. What is that? Lin Dong cautiously asked the small Martin within the stone talisman. Demonic jade water python. To be more precise, it should be the demonic spirit of a demonic jade water python. An uncontainable excitement could be heard in the small Martin's voice. Demonic spirit. Upon hearing these words, the skin of Lin Dong's head exploded. Though he did not know how powerful this demonic jade water python was, he knew that any demonic beast that was able to condense a demonic spirit would be an exceedingly powerful existence. At least, with his current strength, he would likely be killed in a flash. Don't be afraid. This demonic spirit is injured and its intelligence is not high. Very easy to deal with. As if it had sensed Lin Dong's intention to retreat, the small Martin quickly said. Then how strong is it now? Lin Dong did not believe the small Martin's words and asked in reply. The small Martin delayed for a while before spitting it out, it should be equivalent to perfect Yuan Dan stage of you humans. God damn you! At these words, Lin Dong could not help but curse out loud. If this injured demonic jade water python was already comparable to a perfect Yuan Dan practitioner, wouldn't its complete form be equivalent to a creation 3 stages practitioner? How can this be easily dealt with? Leave. When he recalled that the thing within the ball of light was actually able to rival Xia Wanjin and the rest in strength, Lin Dong started to become somewhat worried. He did not need to think about it and wanted to escape quickly. He did not believe that he currently had the strength to contend against a perfect Yuan Dan stage practitioner. Don't, can you see what that is behind the ball of light? When it saw that Lin Dong wanted to escape straight away, the small Martin also became anxious. It currently urgently needed to swallow other demonic spirits to recover some strength. After hearing its words, Lin Dong shot a glance towards the back of the light ball, only to see 3 black and white pearls floating in the air. Though they were quite a distance away, Lin Dong could still sense the pure yin-yang energy they emitted. This level of purity was incomparable even to the energy within the celestial Dan pool. What is that? Somewhat interested in this type of energy, Lin Dong inquired. That is the yin-yang pearl, the true treasure of the celestial Dan pool. It is a strange object that takes many years for the entire pool to condense and form. The yin and yang energies that you absorbed outside are not even a tenth of one yin-yang pearl, plus, its purity is also incomparable. If you are able to obtain these yin-yang pearls, this grandfather Martin guarantees that in 6 months, no, 3 months, you will successfully advance to Yuan Dan stage. The small Martin's voice hurriedly sounded out. Oh! Upon hearing this explanation, Lin Dong's heart skipped a beat. He longingly stared at the 3 black and white pearls, but moments later, he once again slowly shook his head. Although the yin-yang pearls were valuable, his life was even more so. If he awakened the demonic spirit of the demonic jade water python, this place would likely end up as his grave. I can't beat that demonic spirit. I think it's better to forget about it. Lin Dong helplessly said. You can't, but I can. The small Martin chuckled. Didn't you say you had no power? After hearing these words, Lin Dong suspiciously asked. I do not have much power now, thus I need to borrow the Yuan power in your body. The small Martin replied. I am only at heavenly Yuan late stage. Even if I lend all my Yuan power to you, it would not be enough rival that guy. Lin Dong furrowed his eyebrows, feeling that this tactic was not reasonable. He did not want to chance his fate on the small Martin. You look down too much on the methods of the celestial demon Martin tribe. Granted that my current strength is not even 1 out of a 10,000 of my peak, yet what difficulty would there be in dealing with a demonic jade water python? The small Martin disdainfully replied. Lin Dong slightly hesitated. He had never heard of what the celestial demon Martin was, yet this small Martin did indeed seem to be somewhat different. A normal demonic beast did not have its level of intelligence. Why is a brat like you so slow-going and sissy? To do big things, one must take risks. If you go up and tell those guys about the 3 yin-yang pearls here, this grandfather Martin can bet with you that the mustache man will definitely rush here immediately, killing whoever obstructs him. Seeing that Lin Dong had still yet to make a decision, the small Martin also became anxious, feeling a little resentful that things did not meet his expectations as it cursed. Lin Dong rolled his eyes in response. Though he knew that this small Martin had exaggerated, yet, from the pure energy that emitted from within the yin-yang pearl, it looked like this thing was definitely no ordinary item. All right, let us try. What do I do? After once again considering for a while, Lin Dong finally resolutely gritted his teeth. The small Martin was right, there are risks no matter what one does. He would just have to chance it for those 3 yin-yang pearls. Pour Yuan power into the stone talisman and leave the rest to me. Lin Dong pursed his lips, since he had already made up his mind, he no longer hesitated. With a nudge, Yuan power gushed out from his dantian before pouring into the stone talisman within the flesh of his palm. Buzz! As the huge amount of Yuan power poured in, the stone talisman immediately emitted a tiny humming noise. A ray flashed out as a slightly illusionary and small shadow appeared on Lin Dong's palm. This was the small Martin. After absorbing a huge amount of Yuan power from Lin Dong, the pure black color of the small Martin seemed to contain a trace of purple. While Lin Dong observed the small Martin at such a close proximity, he found that this small animal was indeed no rat. On its forehead were a line of faint patterns which looked like a type of mysterious symbols. Is it done? After pouring almost all of the Yuan power in his dantian into the small Martin's body in one go, Lin Dong's complexion was somewhat pale as he asked. Yes. The small Martin nodded its head. Traces of purple and gold light flashed across its tiny jet-black eyes as an extremely diluted and powerful aura quietly spread out. Thump! At the appearance of this extremely diluted yet mighty pressure, Lin Dong's knees involuntarily bent and almost kneeled down. Immediately, he lifted his face, which was now overwhelmed with shock, as he gazed the small Martin on his palm. Heh, useless guy! Can't even bear this! Upon seeing this, the small Martin grinned as it mocked before its black body suddenly flashed as it directly appeared in front of the light ball. As it gazed at the deep blue ball of light, a serious look flitted across the small Martin's eyes. Its claws moved at great speeds as black light swiftly flashed into its claws before quickly gathering and condensing together. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into a vortex that looked like a black hole. Heavenly Demon Mouth. Swallow. In the instance when the black hole formed, an exceptionally ancient and hoarse noise suddenly rang out from the small Martin's mouth. That voice was completely different from its usual one. HHMMMM. As the small Martin's voice sounded out, the black hole vortex instantly started spinning frantically. As it spun, the black light gathered and seemed to transform into a huge mouth as a suction force exploded out and slowly pulled the light ball in. Upon seeing that the small Martin had made its move, Lin Dong's expression also turned serious. He stealthily backed away and stopped just before the cave entrance. At this spot, he could immediately escape once anything went wrong. Under the strong swallowing force, the light ball was gradually pulled towards the black hole. However, using the perceptive abilities of his mental energy, Lin Dong could sense that a strong power within the light ball was currently swiftly awakening. Oh no! After sensing this, Lin Dong's limbs immediately turned ice cold. Hiss! At the same time, a sharp hissing noise abruptly rang out in the cave as the snake shadow within the ball of light quickly expanded. The demonic jade water python demonic spirit that had went dormant, was finally roused from its sleep. Chapter 117, Battle Between Two Beasts. Bang! The deep blue ball of light expanded violently. As it swelled, the snake shadow within it grew bigger and bigger. The demonic jade water python seemed to have sensed that someone was about to do harm to it, as it wriggled frantically about. Immediately, rays of deep blue light continuously shot out from the ball of light, trying to resist the suction force of the black hole. Boom! As both forces clashed, the resulting energy that rippled outwards caused the entire cave to shake. Broken pieces of the ceiling constantly fell from the roof of the cave. Humph! Upon witnessing the demonic jade water python demonic spirit's resistance, the small Martin snorted as its claws danced faster and faster. Meanwhile the suction force increased rapidly, pulling the ball of light inch by inch towards the black hole. Hiss hiss! Faced with this increasingly strong swallowing force, the beams of light that exploded out from within the ball of light also became more and more terrifying. Lin Dong clearly saw a stray light beam streak across the cave roof, leaving behind a pitch-black crevice, so deep that you could not see its bottom. Rumble! After witnessing this terrifying destructive force, Lin Dong involuntarily swallowed. If any stray light beam had reached his body, he would be gravely injured. The small Martin seems to genuinely be able to contend against the demonic jade water python. Though Lin Dong was overwhelmed with horror at the demonic jade water python's strength, he did not immediately run away. This was because he had realized that no matter how much the demonic jade water python struggled, it was still unable to break away from the pull of that crazily spinning black hole. Although the small Martin's current power was borrowed from Lin Dong's Yuan power, the manner in which it utilized this power seemed extremely tyrannical. Furthermore, witnessing that black hole-like vortex was simply heart-stopping, as it held a certain trepiditating aura. It was easy to imagine how strong that small Martin would be after it recovered some strength. At this juncture, Lin Dong was finally convinced that this mysterious small Martin used to possess this kind of terrifying power. Hiss hiss! While these thoughts swirled in Lin Dong's mind, the deadlock in the cave became increasingly violent. Hissing sounds constantly emitted from within the deep blue ball of light as the snake shadow inside frantically twisted and turned. Bang! As the demonic jade water python's resistance became more violent, the deep blue ball of light actually burst apart, causing an extremely powerful energy wave to spread outwards. Even Lin Dong, who was at the fringe of the cave, was jolted heavily into the cave walls as pain emitted from his chest. Hiss! The ball of light burst open and the demonic spirit hidden within immediately appeared. It was a huge deep blue python that was dozens of feet long. However, its body currently looked rather illusionary. This was the characteristic of the demonic spirit form. Pop! Quickly after the demonic jade water python demonic spirit appeared, it opened its huge mouth as a viscous blue column of water shot towards the small Martin. An extremely strong corrosive smell arose from within the column of water. Swallow! In response to the demonic jade water python's attack, the small marten sneered. It clenched its claw as a suction force exploded out from the black hole and directly swallowed the entire blue column of water. Stubborn bastard, Grandfather Marten wants to consume your demonic spirit. You actually dare to resist. Practically courting death. The demonic jade water python struggled with all its might, clearly causing the small marten to grow somewhat impatient. Immediately, its claws waved and a rich black chi gushed out from within its body before condensing into a huge monster at the small marten's back. As the black mist curled about the marten, Lin Dong could only see some indistinct parts. Yet, he still managed to find out that this monster actually had the original small marten's appearance, but enlarged countless times. Is this the small marten's true form? As he gazed at the colossus that seemed to emit a terrible and ancient aura, Lin Dong could not help but mumble in his heart. Roar! Just as the huge monster took shape, it let out a low roar at the demonic jade water python. The roar was filled with an extremely frightening might and caused the demonic jade water python's body to tremble as fear colored its snake-like eyes. You better get in! The huge monster which had been formed by the black mist suddenly extended its palm, furiously smashing the demonic jade water python demonic spirit's body. After suffering this heavy blow, the demonic spirit let out a mournful cry before transforming into a ray of blue light that was swiftly swallowed into the crazily spinning black hole vortex. Pop! At the moment when the demonic jade water python was swallowed into the black hole, the figure at the small marten's back also fell apart as the black hole before it also started to disperse rapidly. Success! Upon seeing such a quick end to this battle, Lin Dong was stunned. He gazed at the small marten's body which had become so illusionary that it was almost transparent. From that appearance, it was clear that the latter was thoroughly spent. Though the small marten was not of ordinary origin, it had only borrowed some of the Yuan power from Lin Dong. This Yuan power was not enough for it to use its secret techniques too many times. After gulping down that demonic jade water python's demonic spirit, the small marten's body transformed into a beam of light which flew back into the stone talisman within Lin Dong's palm. Brat, this time I definitely owe you one. However, I will perhaps have to rest for a period of time first. When the small marten entered the stone talisman, an exceptionally weak voice sounded out in Lin Dong's head before quickly fading away. Looks like swallowing that demonic jade water python this time had caused the already weakened state of the small marten to deteriorate. Lin Dong blankly stared at the messy cave which had suddenly become empty. Moments later, he heavily sighed in relief. Thankfully, he had won this gamble, or else, he would probably be chased and killed by a demonic spirit that had the strength of a perfect Yuan Dan stage practitioner. Crash! Just as Lin Dong was relieved of the worry in his heart, the crashing sounds of water was suddenly heard from behind. The water which had been stuck at the cave entrance was now pouring into the cave. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Dong hastily dashed forward and grabbed the 3 yin-yang pearls that were still suspended in midair. As the yin-yang pearls made contact with his hand, a cold and warm sensation practically gushed into Lin Dong's body at the same time. That sensation was so relaxing that it caused Lin Dong to straight away tremble. Merely slightly touching had brought about this feeling. Looks like what the small marten had said before was true. This yin-yang pearl was truly a treasure. Unable to contain the happiness in his heart, Lin Dong swiftly stuffed the yin-yang pearls into his Qian bag. Then, summoning the little bit of Yuan power left in his danshan, he hastily swam out through the path he had entered. Outside the celestial Dan pool, Xia's Hailan and the other two had already concluded their absorbing and left the pool. Their puzzled gazes were fixed on the celestial Dan pool, as they struggled to comprehend why Lin Dong had yet to resurface. Could something have happened? Xian Su's black brows knitted together as she asked. Nothing should have went wrong. Yu Shan and I had scanned this celestial Dan pool at the start. Although the terrain below is complicated, there were no dangers. Xia Wanjin shook his head. He was also somewhat puzzled over why Lin Dong had yet to appear. How about this, let us wait for a while longer. If he still does not appear, I will personally go down to investigate. Xia Wanjin muttered to himself for a while before saying. No matter what, he was a righteous man. Disregarding Lin Dong's potential, just based on the fact that he had helped the Thousand Gold Association achieve the final victory, Xia Wanjin felt that he should ensure Lin Dong's safety. Okay. After hearing these words, Xiansu also lightly nodded. If they were able to rope in an individual with such immense potential, their Thousand Gold Association would definitely enjoy huge benefits in the future. Plop. Not long after Xia Wanjin had spoken, a noise sounded out from the calm surface of the pond. Immediately, a figure broke through the surface and landed at the side of the pool. He's out. As they gazed at the youngster who had finally appeared, Xia's Hylan and the rest released a sigh of relief. Hee, sorry. I visited the bottom of the pool due to curiosity and was delayed for a time. Upon seeing the crowd, Lin Dong clasped his hands together and apologized with a smile on his face. I thought that you had drowned. Xia's Hylan cast a glance at Lin Dong as she snorted. She was in a slightly bad mood after recalling Lin Dong's whale-like absorption of the energy from before. Lin Dong chuckled as he could not be bothered to argue with her. He turned back to glance at the celestial Dan pool, only to find that the pool water had now become clear. The fragrance from before had also become so mild that it could hardly be sensed. The peculiar scenery of a half-boiling and half-ice-cold pool no longer existed. Looks like the energy within had been practically exhausted by the four of them. In the future, this celestial Dan pool would be merely being an ordinary pool. Hee, looks like this little brother Lin Dong reaped quite a harvest. Xia Wanjin's gaze swept across Lin Dong's body, amazed that the UN power undulation from the latter's body was actually much richer than before. Hee, it's just a small breakthrough. After hearing these words, Lin Dong's heart skipped a beat. He had thought that Xia Wanjin had found out about the bounty he had obtained at the bottom of the pool. However, after taking a closer look, the latter did not seem to imply such a meaning. Stealthily sighing in relief, Lin Dong casually replied. As the small Martin had said, these yin-yang pearls held great allure and he was unsure of what Xia Wanjin would have done if he found out about them. As Lin Dong spoke, his gaze also examined Xia's Hylan and the other two. Currently, the UN power undulations that emitted from their bodies were exceptionally strong. The three of them were already practitioners at the heavenly UN late stage. Therefore, after absorbing energy from the celestial Dan pool, they should be able to successfully advance to the UN Dan stage soon. Xia Wanjin lightly nodded his head. In his heart, he had started to grow fond of Lin Dong. To be able to make such progress in UN power and especially in mental energy at such a young age, was definitely testament to the fact Lin Dong's talent was indeed exceptional. Since this matter is over, let us return to Yan City. To one side, Xiansu smiled and said. In response to her words, Lin Dong smiled back and nodded. Since the celestial Dan pool's energy had been depleted, there was no point in lingering here. All in all, he could be considered as the one with the largest haul after this celestial Dan pool journey. This was not a wasted trip indeed. Chapter 118, Sinecure and Expenses. The huge group rushed back to Yan City after a rewarding trip. Due to the fact that they had quite a bountiful harvest, the atmosphere surrounding them was rather jovial. While they were journeying back, Xia Wanjin inquired about Lin Dong's origins, with a hidden intention of roping him in. Towards Xia Wanjin's interest in him, Lin Dong slightly thought about it and did not straight away reject it. Since he had aided the Thousand Gold Association in defeating the Blood Wolf Gang, given the latter's style and mannerisms, it was likely that they would hold a grudge against him. Hence, at this juncture, fostering a close relations to one of the other top factions in Yan City, the Thousand Gold Association, was undoubtedly a wise decision. Thus, he did not hide his origins. After all, with the Thousand Gold Association's power, they would find out after a little investigation. The Lin family of Qingyang Town. After hearing that Lin Dong was from the Lin family of Qingyang Town, Xia Wanjin did not react much while Xiansu was a little surprised. Soon after, she covered her mouth and let out a laugh, the Yang Yuan stones that were recently sold by the Lin family were mostly collected by our Thousand Gold Association. I never expected that our young friend Lin Dong was actually from the Lin family. When we return, I will instruct our people to take note when doing business with the Lin family in the future. Hehe, then I'll have to thank Manager Su. Lin Dong chuckled as he politely clasped his hands together towards her. The Lin family, I've recently heard that the blood cloth sect from Yan City has a grudge with you. In addition, in about a month, the leader of the blood cloth sect, Wei Tong, has agreed on a death match with your Lin family at Yan City's duel arena. As if he had suddenly recalled something, Xia Wanjin asked. Upon hearing this, Xian Su, Xia's Highland and the rest were also shocked as their gazes turned towards Lin Dong. Though the blood cloth sect could not compare to their Thousand Gold Association in Yan City, the former were still a reasonably strong faction and Wei Tong was an advanced Yuan Dan stage expert. Could the Lin family contend against this level of strength? Yes. There is indeed some grievances between us. In response to their astonishment, Lin Dong merely smiled as he calmly continued, furthermore, the one who will have a death match with Wei Tong is me. Oh! After hearing this declaration, even Xia Wanjin's eyebrow slightly raised. To one side, Xia's Highland could not help but remark, does a brat like you not want to live anymore? Wei Tong is an advanced Yuan Dan stage expert, he is nothing compared to the half-baked Zhongli from today. Yes, Highland is correct. A duel to the death in the duel arena is no trifling matter. If need be, I can step in to mediate. Xian Su also nodded as she offered. I'm afraid that will be difficult. The Blood Cloth sect is led by the Blood Wolf gang. Now that Lin Dong has caused them to lose the Celestial Dan pool, even if our Thousand Gold Association intervenes, it would be very tricky to make the Blood Cloth sect give up. Xia Wanjin muttered. Hehe, this was originally a matter that others should not interfere with. Still, many thanks to both of you. Lin Dong slightly smiled as he replied. How did you offend the Blood Cloth sect? Xia's Highland could not help but inquire. I guess it's because I killed their deputy head, Gu Ying. Lin Dong casually said. When these words were spoken, the surroundings turned quiet. When Lin Dong turned his head, he found that Xia's Highland and the rest were staring at him in amazement. Gu Ying should have been a second seal symbol master, right? Xian Su was likewise shocked. Soon after, she regained her wits and somewhat helplessly asked, Young one, to think that you had actually killed him. No wonder it is not possible to interfere. What a disgusting fellow! Xia's Highland mumbled in a low voice. It could be said that a second seal symbol master was equivalent to an initial Yuan Dan stage practitioner. Yet such a powerful figure was actually killed by Lin Dong. No wonder Lin Dong did not panic at all when he faced Zhongli earlier. After all, he was already assured of his victory. Lin Dong spread out his hands. He knew that he had no choice in that matter. After all, if he did not kill Gu Ying, it would result in even greater troubles in the future. However, now that the deed was done, there was nothing to be regretful about. As for Wei Tong, it was too early to discuss on who would win or lose in the death duel 1 month later. Hehe, our young friend Lin Dong is so bold. Gu Ying is a terrible person, it's good news that he's dead. Xia Wanjin chuckled. Soon after, he changed the topic and asked, I want to invite our young friend, Lin Dong, to take on a sinecure position as an officer of the Thousand Gold Association. Would you be willing? Upon hearing Xia Wanjin's words, Lin Dong was slightly stunned. As he gazed at the former's smiling expression, it suddenly all clicked together in his head. Xia Wanjin wanted to secretly help their Lin family by allowing them to establish ties with the Thousand Gold Association. Then in future, the Lin family would be able to receive some help in Yan City and not worry about retaliation from the Blood Cloth sect or the Blood Wolf gang. Then I shall thank President Xia for his goodwill. Lin Dong thought about it momentarily, before he clasped his hands together. For the current Lin family, the Thousand Gold Association was like a huge tree. If it was him alone, he would be fine alone. However, right now, he had to consider the needs of the entire Lin family too. thus, he decided to accept this kind of goodwill. After witnessing that Lin Dong had accepted, Xia Wanjin let out a hearty laugh. Though the former's current strength was perhaps unable to move him, Lin Dong's potential had become very important to Xia Wanjin. Since he had started out as a merchant, he knew extremely well about the benefits of a long-term investment. If he let go of this chance, perhaps their 1,000 gold association would no longer have the qualifications to express any goodwill to Lin Dong in the future when he has finally displayed his potential. Upon witnessing this scene, Xiansu also let out a little laugh. She had always thought rather highly of Lin Dong. Therefore, she was glad to see that the 1,000 gold association was able to establish ties with him. After returning to Yan City, Lin Dong bid farewell to Xia Wanjin and the rest, before directly returning to the inn that he stayed at, without making any other pit stops. Right after he reached his room, Lin Dong's body stumbled. Although he had reaped a bountiful harvest today, it was no walk in the park. Furthermore, towards the end when he was at the bottom of the pool, he had practically given all his yuan power to the small Martin. What's more, he had tried to maintain his spirits on the journey back. Now that he could finally relax, it was natural that a feeble sensation started to spread out all over his body. As he was in this feeble state, Lin Dong did not immediately start studying the yin-yang pearl he had just obtained. Instead, he chose to endure the exhaustion and weakness, as he sat down on his bed and slowly entering into a cultivation state. It was an entire half a day's time, before Lin Dong once again opened his eyes, only to find that it was already late at night. After cultivating for half a day, his dantian which was almost out of yuan power had mostly recovered. That feeble sensation had also gradually faded away. Sensing that he had mostly recovered, Lin Dong retrieved the 3 yin-yang pearls he had obtained today at the bottom of the celestial dan pool from his Qian bag. These 3 round, black and white pearls floated before Lin Dong. Strong and pure energy undulated and continuously spread out from within, before rippling throughout the room. Lin Dong had a rather heated gaze as he stared at the 3 yin-yang pearls. He could sense that even the energy within one of the yin-yang pearls was more than the combined energy that the 4 of them had absorbed from the celestial dan pool today. This is the true treasure of the celestial dan pool. Lin Dong let out a chuckle. Fortunately, the layout of the bottom of the celestial dan pool was extremely complicated. If not, this kind of treasure would never have been picked up by him. Given Xia Wanjin's and Yu Shan's characters, they would definitely have long ago inspected the celestial dan pool. If it were not for the fact that there were countless paths at the bottom of the pool, perhaps the treasure would have long been discovered by the both of them. Ordinary people only knew that the treasure of the celestial dan pool was the energy within the pool water, yet they would never have expected that the celestial dan pool would also be able to produce a mysterious item like the yin-yang pearl. After being happy for a while, Lin Dong cautiously kept 2 of the yin-yang pearls, while leaving one behind and moving it to the center of his palm before once again closing his eyes. While he activated Qing Yuan art, he also utilized mental energy, condensing it into a qi transformation vortex above his dantian. Wu! As Lin Dong started to absorb, the yin-yang pearl began to tremble. Next, a shockingly pure energy that looked like a water column of alternating black and white flew out from the yin-yang pearl before finally being absorbed by the suction force emitting from Lin Dong's body. Under Lin Dong's frantic absorption, a moist fog of energy seemed to curl around his body. This kind of absorption was practically several times better than in the celestial dan pool from before. However, this absorption lasted for only half an hour, before Lin Dong sensed that the yuan power qi ball within his dantian was already crammed full. Immediately, he stopped his greedy absorption and started operating the Qing Yuan art to condense the yuan power qi ball. This rate of condensing was not satisfying to Lin Dong, however, he had no alternatives. Qing Yuan art was only a third-rate secret art and this was already its limit. To increase the speed of absorption and condensing yuan power, one had to look at the root of the problem, which was to replace it with a higher-tier secret art. Of course, he could only pine for it as he was currently unable to obtain a higher-tier secret art. Thus, Lin Dong could only bear with it for the moment. Life was much more peaceful for Lin Dong over the next few days as he spent most of his time immersed in cultivation. With these yin-yang pearls, Lin Dong's Yuan power cultivation progressed very rapidly. He could sense that he was now edging closer to the boundary separating him from the Yuan Dan stage. All he needed to do was to wait for the day when he naturally broke through. Given his current progress, that day should not be too far off. While he cultivated his Yuan power, Lin Dong did not neglect his mental energy. After using up a large amount of funds to buy and refine grade 5 elixirs into elixir pills, his mental energy cultivation also made rapid progress. The crack on the Destiny Soul symbol in his Nuan Palace also became increasingly distinct and seemed to be about to split into two at moment. However, this trend only lasted till the 10th day before suddenly stopping. This was because Lin Dong awkwardly realized that merely half a month after he arrived at Yan City, he had actually completely spent the 1,000 Yang Yuan pills he had brought. Hence, he no longer possessed the funds to buy any grade 5 elixirs. This kind of expenditure would probably cause Lin Zhentian and the rest to be dumbstruck if they found out about it. The entire Lin family would be unable to afford the cultivation of just him alone. I guess it's time to earn some money. As he gazed at his empty Qian Kun bag, Lin Dong could not help but laugh bitterly, as he shook his head.